Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? A lot of TikTokers are worried about the ban that's going to happen tomorrow. They're jumping over to Red Note. There is a giant issue in this because in doing so, they are seeing prices of food, they're seeing how the life in China works, and they are getting upset about how their lives are in North America. This is an issue within TikTok. Not only TikTok, but keeping up with the Joneses has always been a really big problem. Everybody knows that you don't judge someone's life on Facebook or what you read in the magazines because that isn't really life. Now, you get your ego, your super ego, and then you got your id. Your id is at the end of the day what things are actually going to be like. I swear the ego and the super ego are all this flash in the pan. Is this stuff going to help you at the end of the day? Is it going to help your family? Is it going to help move your society forward? So we have so many people, like I myself am narcissistically abused by a narcissist who got on TikTok, who saw other people's lives externally, decided that it wasn't what she thought that she was supposed to have more. So she, based off of what she saw on TikTok, she was addicted 5.5 to 6.5 hours a day. Though she was my stay-at-home wife, though she refused to do dishes for 3.5 days, and if I asked her on day 3, she would wait 5 days, and I was not allowed to do the dishes because I wouldn't do dishes her way. Sometimes the knives would face different. She wanted the knives facing up in the dishwasher. Nice face. She posted on TikTok about this, and TikTok told her to leave me because I was controlling. Now, what we have going on now is people from TikTok going over to Red Note, seeing these lower prices, and seeing not just that, not just lower prices, but the better lifestyle. Now, guys, here, that's not real. What you're seeing isn't real. It's an advertisement. Just like on TV, they sell you a good life. On cable TV, they sold you a good life, right? Cosmopolitan, they're selling this is a toxic life. This life might exist okay for the women, but it will not exist well for the family unit. Okay? You're going over to the little red book, right? Little red book. Okay, guys, let me tell you something about the little red book that I learned unobjectively as a open-minded liberal, okay? I met a Chinese individual who knew Christianity very well, and they said Christianity and China, the Chinese government, the Mao, we have our little red book. The Christians have your book. We have posters and pictures of either Jesus or God and Chairman Mao. Mao Zedong, you have your book. You praise your God with your book. This is a Chinese person telling me this. So this is the same thing as Catholics. Like, let's say Catholics made an app, right? Let's say Catholics made a social media app. Do you think that the Catholics would put anything in there about the child abuse that legitimately went on? We all know that it went on. We don't like to talk about the fact that it went on at all. We all want to enjoy what we have. We all want more of what we have. And very few of us want personal responsibility. In China, they won't put up with LGBTQ BS. In China, they would take John Money and burn him alive, I believe. Things are very different in China. But what really bothers me is nobody wants to look at what's actually going on in China. They want to look at the world with their ego or their superego. Nobody wants to look with the id. There's legitimately people in China that eat sewer rats. And you really can't blame them because they came from a place that if they didn't eat sewer rats, they might starve to death. And let's face it, this stuff's going on in North America now too, right? So like I can't cast shade at the Chinese people. I want to say I love the Chinese people. If you talk to a Chinese person like directly, if you're in their country and you have a hard time, like for example, a problem that keeps happening is people go into China with cash, not realizing you need an app. It's kind of like WhatsApp. I want to say Venmo. Damn, iChat. I think it's the iChat app. You need different apps in order to transfer money, and people come into the country and they think they just need cash, and they will be embarrassed, and people will be like, oh, you didn't understand. Okay, I'll, you know what, and then you'll have like waitresses saying, you know what, you give me the cash, I will pay for this with my app. And very, I gotta say, very reasonable on a one-to-one level. Chinese people unbelievably reasonable, like legitimately. When I'm on a one-to-one level with Chinese people, I can get problems dealt with like that. No problem. No problem at all. But like any place, you get too many people together and the group changes, right? There is absolutely inequality issues in China. So things you need to know in order to understand why China thinks the way that they do about us. You need to know about the opium wars, okay? There's a lot of people in China that are high up that have memories of hells that we can't even understand about other countries drowning them in opium and then trying to take them over. China didn't want anything to do with the rest of the world. It didn't want anything to do with the colonial powers. But oh, geez, I sound like my girlfriend now. Um, Britain decided we need your tea. We're getting your tea. China's like, you know what? No, you guys are cool. We want our own thing. Heck you. We're going to do our own thing. And the British were like, a little bit of opium? What, a little bit of opium? How about a little bit of opium? Jeez, it would be too bad if someone was to open an opium shop just on the other side of your borders. Oh, and the Chinese were slain. Slain. That's why when you talk about Taiwan and Hong Kong, they're a big issue because the colonial powers took these two things from China and they were like, okay, these are, now that we kicked your arse and you've given up, we're taking these two places and we're going to do trade. And you're going to do trade with us. Right, China? So there's a lot of people high up in the government that have those memories, that have, like, wow, even I have a memory burnt into my mind of a man that sold his wife and child so that he could be in an opium den, which was a place where like good looking ladies will just keep smoking you up and you're just like, yeah, 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 woo. And that's a hell that they have had to work their way out of. That's why if you get busted with stuff over there, they see it as if you are trying to destroy their society. Because drugs absolutely destroy society. Drugs, like bad ideas, destroy society. Pedophilia destroys society. Bad banks destroy society. There's so many ways, and we got to keep these things out. We have got to keep these things out. Now, the pedophilia thing, that is important because with our LGBTQ stuff, we do not want to talk about the issues of it harming children. Now, how does it harm children? Now, the LGBTQ is something that new that we're getting into now, and we have had mistakes that we don't even like talking about, like John Money. If you don't know who he is, look him the fuck up right the now, because he is the most clear and obvious arm of the LGBTQ making a mistake that it won't point out. Mistakes that went into journals and are still being taught these days. He put in a journal that you could raise a little boy to be a little girl by just surrounding them with little girl stuff. And it doesn't actually work out that way. It doesn't actually work out that way. And I myself know multiple parents who believe that it did work that way. I don't know any parents personally that decided to raise their kid the opposite of what they were, but this did happen. It absolutely happened. And we're still having difficulties waking up to the fact that this hurts children. And Chinese people only got one kid to look after, and they weren't going to let any bad ideas get into their heads. They are not okay with LGBTQ stuff, and they will kick you off on Red Note. But what is unbelievably, what blows me away more than anything, is how these people are willing to throw everything away and just give, though they would hate the Catholics for all of their things. They're basically jumping to another version of mental control, of overall control. The people in TikTok hate control. Unless they're the ones doing the controlling and manipulating. A lot of people on TikTok, they just want the money, they just want the control, they just want the manipulation. Okay, so there are people making money within TikTok. There are absolutely people honestly making money in China off of selling us kerfentanil. Kerfentanil, that kills us. Like, guys, let's talk legit. Kerfentanil, if someone has a bag of kerfentanil, and this has happened, if a druggie uses in a park and drops their bag and a little kid picks up that bag, that there's no little kid anymore. There's no little kid anymore. There's been legitimately times in Brampton, Ontario, when a Chihuahua brought a bag back to their master, and the Chihuahua was dead before it got back because the kerfentanil had killed them. Guys, we have an opioid epidemic over here in the West. Now, who brought it here? The rich people who said that it wasn't actually an issue. And also, the Chinese government and the Chinese people who were producing it, sending it over here in droves and droves and droves. And if we don't know someone personally who has died from overdoses, then we know someone who knows someone. That's remarkable. That's remarkable. It wasn't that way when I was young. Meth was the new thing when I was young, and frick, I didn't touch that stuff. And you've seen why pretty quickly. Because the drugs could take over your head and make you do strange things. TikTok is making people do strange things. It's making people compare their lives to other people's. And now the TikTokers within Red Note are comparing North America to China based off of the Chinese government's own app. Guys, they're lying to you. The influencers are lying to you. A lot of them don't even have the answers. It's all a mental control, just like Scientology. And you're all falling for it because you're all within the group that can benefit from it. Now, if we wanted to objectively be good people and reasonable people in the middle of the road, we would do things differently. And we wouldn't move to Red Note. And the fact people are moving to Red Note is remarkable. And it says a lot about our society that we're not willing to talk about. There's a lot of things going on within our society that we are not allowed to talk about. For example, let's face it, there was a big turning when Trump took over the presidency the second time, when he won the election for his second try. It changed things. People realized we were being too damn woke and progressive. Now, that's something that the future isn't going to know very well because it was so silent because we cowardly kept it to ourselves. But here's the thing, this has happened before. This has happened before. Look up the silent majority. And that's when Nixon or somebody on the right came in. Everyone on the left was like, peace, man, and all this stuff. And they were just blown away when their group didn't get voted in. And they cried and they whined so much. And then I'm pretty sure what happened next was Charles Manson, who was a hippie, who was all love, who was all this good stuff, started murdering people. Oh, he didn't do it, right? It was his friends. It's not TikTok doing things. It's the women. So I'm sorry, I have to say that because I'm not sure so we've probably all heard of stories about abused women saying porn has got to go or it's got to be changed because so many people are getting hurt within it. And when you actually look into it, holy Christ, there are so many people getting hurt within the porn industry. There are so many people, but it's like we just don't want to talk about it. We just want to enjoy the good things. We want to enjoy the good things on TikTok. We want to enjoy the good things in the pornography industry. We don't want to talk about the child manipulation that goes on there. We don't want to take on the responsibility of making sure that our children don't have pornography available to them. We want everything, and we want other people to give us this stuff, and we don't want to do anything to keep it there. We want everything so much that we are willing to give all of our information up to a worse group, and we will blame the people that we are with for it, though it is our own choice to do it. Holy frick. That just so I'm not Christian or anything, but I love stories, especially comic stories, especially Warhammer. And if there's one thing, like the core of Christian belief when it comes to psychology, is man and woman had the ability to not know pain, to just know happiness. And they decided, you know what? I want knowledge. I want knowledge of good and bad, pain and happiness. I don't want to be this stupid, happy individual I am. And because of that, they knew hell. The Pandora's box was open, basically. Yeah, that's it. It's like the Pandora's box. The Eve taking the apple and Pandora opening the box. Well, I really don't like, now that I think about it, I don't like those comparisons because it's the woman doing it. I want to see more comparisons of the man being responsible for opening hell. Or is that supposed to be part of the story that we miss? So get me here. The fisherman and his wife. Oh, there's a lot of stories that we don't tell anymore because it makes women sound bad. I'm wondering if we're exposing ourselves to a new hell because we're expecting everyone to be effeminate, telling everyone being effeminate is definitely better than being masculine, because being masculine is being a tyrant. Only tyrants are masculine. And it seems like we're all turning around and realizing that might not be entirely true. Like partially, absolutely partially true, but entirely true? Absolutely not. I see a society absolutely disabling for the interests of the individual and not for the family. When I look back at all of the things my ex-wife is giving me a hard time for, I was looking out for the benefit of the family, for the finances. I wasn't, so she was fine with going into a third party and crying like the bank. Her mother was known for going to the bank and crying so that they wouldn't be let go of things. So they wouldn't let go of things. So they wouldn't lose their things. My wife went and cried to the neighbors and to social services and to, well, anyone she could, that I was an abusive individual. But it was a lie. I wasn't. TikTok gave her all of these ideas that were absolutely wrong. She didn't check with anybody. And the fact that she called me a covert narcissist is flat out proof that TikTok put my entire family in danger. Rule number one when you're dealing with narcissists is you don't tell them you know. I learned that later as I went through an experience trying to figure out what hell I just lived, what hell I just went through. I'm still dealing with it. Now, here's the thing. People will be like, deal with it. Get over it. You know, I'm dealing with it. I'm getting over it. I have therapists. I have medication. I have all of these things. It still takes time and effort to get over these things. And TikTok had bad ideas. TikTok absolutely had bad ideas. And the people that gave my wife the bad ideas to kick me out and to call out narcissists. They're banned now. It is dangerous to call out a narcissist. It is dangerous. So the fact that my ex was getting information off of TikTok and then just and at this point TikTok wasn't even 3 minutes long yet. She'd already made her decision. Uh, and the fact that she could bring that all together and with all of the words she heard on TikTok go to everybody and be like, eh, eh, eh. So the Chinese app is different. It's not all about complaining. It's not all about. So we got the LGBTQ going over there. The LGBTQ is definitely a thing. And they don't like the LGBTQ over there in the Chinese app. They don't like your American bullshit. They don't like your trauma dumps. They're not into your stuff. Now, the Chinese government has changed the app for people to do this, but all that I see here is a society wanting to burn down because they don't want any personal responsibility. I remember a long time ago there was someone, I want to say it was J. Edgar Hoover, I don't know, that said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And when I look around, I don't see anyone who gives two shits about their country, but wants the country to bend to them directly. And if it doesn't bend to them directly, they melt down, they complain. I don't know very many progressive people that would hold their own country's flag in their own hands. And when I see people doing things like running to Red Note, are there no American alternatives? So, in closing, yes, the Americans want you to be in American systems that they can watch. And the Chinese want to control you in their own way. Neither of these people want your best interest. But at the same time, you're only supposed to have one therapist at a time. Talk to your therapist about this. Don't talk to your TikTok people about this. Talk to your therapist. I date therapists. I have difficult conversations with them constantly. It's interesting when you see what it's like for therapists, what life is like and the choices that they make and the reality that they see. It's different. It's different. It's different. I gotta say, my ex decided she hated men for all of these reasons that were complete BS. And then I go out there and I start dating, and I finally meet this one therapist woman, and I'm like, wow, okay, you have the same opinions as my ex, but you legitimately, you get to complain, because this is one poor ass woman who, her dad walked out on her when she was super young. Her grandfather died when she was super young. There, that's all the good men she had in her life. Like, sometimes you just run into a situation where life is hard for you, and sometimes you're in a situation where you're just too freaking lazy to do anything and you don't want to work. You just want to burn things down so that the ashes will bring you up a little bit. But seriously, are you interested in your country, or are you interested in your tribe? Because if we're getting into the tribalism, if you want to be like on the left and you want your lefties to take over, make sure the guys in black make sure the guys in black ain't taking over, because though the Nazis had their people that do dark things that were illegal, so do other groups. So do the Chinese, so do the LGBTQ. We all have the ability to be evil. We all have the ability to be evil regardless of our sexuality, regardless of anything. But I seriously feel like we're in a time when we simply judge people based off the content of their sexuality. And that's difficult. We got to bring this stuff in, guys, to just wanting the best for everyone, regardless if they vote our way or not. We got to go back to being able to have our neighbor having a sign saying vote for the opposite guy, and be okay. That is peak civilization right there. Having the ability to be next door to someone who thinks different than you and still proceed kindly in a good society. But we've definitely had a problem with that. Like over in Orangeville, there'd be people pulling out. Why do you pull out other people's side? There'd be like representatives, like the guy going for mayor, pulling out his opponent's lawn signs. Oh man, I knew a guy that he'd wake up early and just watch the neighborhood back in the day when they gave out milk cans and stuff. And the milk guy would come by and drop off all the milk things, and then one of the dogs that were let out would just go from door to door and lick the lids of each milk container. I'm sorry, I'm getting way off here, but thanks for hearing me out, guys. Red Note. Really? Red Note. Red Note? Red Note. That's like saying, I hate my husband so much that I'm going to go and sleep with this guy at the club who does a lot of coke. I'm going to do a lot of really nasty things to him. And then when I realize this guy's not interested in me, he doesn't want what is best for me, he wants to blow out my back and send me home. Oh, then I'm going to go back to this guy and hopefully he'll take me back. Like, guys, we are so busy being entertained by short form video that we will not look at history. And we will not double check any of our stuff off of TikTok either. We got some problems, guys. Anyways, this is it for me. Thanks for hearing my rant. Catch you later, guys. Have a good one.